Wow, it seems TUMI is cranking out the fragrances. They've got 2 fragrances that's launched this year, the latest being Kinetic, which I'm going to tell you all about. But they launched 2 fragrances in 2020 at the height of the pandemic. They launched CONTINUUM last year, which is a really great offering from this house. And this year they've launched Atlas, this one, and now we've got Kinetic. So I'm going to tell you all about Kinetic today from TUMI, and then I'm going to do a rank list, the top 5 TUMI fragrances for you. Find out about Kinetic and what my #1 favorite TUMI fragrance is coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today we're talking about TUMI's Kinetic, the latest release. It comes in the most gorgeous red bottle. Really great looking bottle, although I kind of like the CONTINUUM bottle, but the red stands out even further. And for me, at the start of this collection, I wasn't wowed by it until CONTINUUM launched late last year. I felt like it was a great designer, my kind of fragrance, and it was a tobacco powdery ambery release, and it had this kind of booziness for me as well, and a little bit of a Coca-Cola fizziness, which I quite like. So what do you guys think? Do you like the idea of Kinetic? Have you sampled it yet, or are you really curious to try it? You know, I'm not wowed by this particular fragrance. It's just another very similar mass designer offering for men, which is not to say it's bad. I like it a lot more than UNWIND and AWAKEN, but it's also very similar to some other fragrances, which I'm going to get to. And of course, I'm going to tell you the top 5 of the fragrances. And you probably already know, with the things I've already said about the fragrances, you'll probably already know which one is my favorite fragrance. But before I let you know all about Kinetic, if this is your first time tuning into this channel and you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So are you a fan of the TUMI fragrances? Have you found a favorite in this collection? It seems that they're cranking them out now. We launched, as I said, 2 with the original 2 in 2020, 1 last year, and now we've got the second one this year. I think this will do good for men, the Kinetic, but it's not anything I haven't smelled before, whereas CONTINUUM I felt like was quite original and definitely a great fall winter fragrance. Here it's more fresh, but still kind of a fresh amber woody experience. So it's $110 for this 100 ml. It's Eau De Parfum concentration. I would call this an amber woody citrus fragrance. It's definitely loads of ambers and woods with citruses, so there's definitely a freshness about it. But we feature notes here of Ambwerwood, Italian Mandarin, pimento leaves for top notes, heart notes Olibanum, everlasting flower, nutmeg. Finally, in the base notes, we've got sandalwood, teakwood, and smoky vanilla. So even though they mention vanilla in here, it gets very lightly sweet. So I'm going to tell you that first. The vanilla is definitely very light on the spectrum of the notes here. I think it's the weakest note in this particular fragrance, but it does add a little sweetness. But initial blast on this one, definitely you experience the Ambwerwood experience. Very popular in men's fragrances, and the Ambwerwood note definitely has woods, definitely has an ambery experience. Maybe they're borrowing you know, some of the accords from something like an ambergris, so there's maybe a little bit of an aquatic thing happening here as well. Smokiness, because definitely I've experienced smokiness from ambergris. There's definitely some smokiness here in this particular fragrance, but it's basically the combination of this kind of amberwood note with lots of Italian Mandarin, or the Mandarin note. So, and even though this is Mandarin, I'm not getting a lot of sweetness from the Mandarin, so it definitely, it's not like tart or sour, but it's not also uber sweet, so I don't have a lot of sweetness with this particular fragrance. It does eventually sweeten up on me, but it's definitely not the sweetest you know, fragrance, if that makes sense. Because definitely there's this kind of like light tartness about it. Eventually, in the heart notes, you're going to experience some resinous touches from the Olibanum. The everlasting flower here is got this kind of light caramelized experience, but not sweet once again. It doesn't come off very sweet in this particular situation with this fragrance. So once again, also the everlasting flower for me is not overly prominent. It's a little more prominent than the smoky vanilla or the vanilla note they mention in here, but definitely it's not as prominent as some of the other notes. For me, this particular fragrance is mostly about the amber wood experience with the Mandarin. Those two really dominate, and then of course the woods in the base as well. You know, you do get a little bit of the nutmeg in here. You experience it. It comes in. And definitely is prominent mixed with the kind of resinous Olibanum note in here. So there's definitely a little more ambery experience with that addition of Olibanum. And then in the base notes, we're getting lots of woods. The Sandalwood and the Teakwood comes in and definitely creates a woody experience. So it accentuates the amber woody qualities up top with more woods in the base. So for me, this is more about woods. Definitely an ambery experience, not a sweet amber. Definitely smoky, dry woods, kind of an amber. Little saltiness, definitely lots of citruses, kind of a sweet tart, not uber sweet, not uber tart kind of a thing, kind of like a balance of citruses. And that's pretty much what you get with this one. Here's the thing, it reminds me of Sauvage a lot. Even though it's red, I'm thinking Baccarat Rouge. No, I feel like this is somewhere between Sauvage and something like, I don't want to say Baccarat Rouge, right? No, there's no, maybe there's like a, it's really deeply hidden there, but I do get something like Calonne's muskiness, kind of amber woodiness, and also another fragrance, Oud for Greatness, minus the kind of like the Baccarat Rouge quality. So it's definitely lots of amber woodiness, dusty, dry, and of course lots of citruses. I think it will do fine. And again, we're not breaking new ground here with this particular fragrance. I'm fine with it. I like the smell, but this is not the kind of fragrance that I gravitate towards. It doesn't call me, like if I leave it on the counter behind me, it's not going to be like, oh my god, I haven't worn Kinetic, I'm going to go grab it. So anyway, that's my thoughts on Kinetic. Does it sound great to you? Do let me know. Are you a fan of the TUMI fragrances? Do let me know. Why don't we get started with the list, the top 5 list. So we're going to start off at number 5 with AWAKEN. AWAKEN is at number 5. This is my least favorite fragrance in this collection because it reminds me a lot of other men's designer fragrances, all of them smelling similar. There's definitely kind of an aquatic marine thing happening here with citruses and spices. According to the notes, there's bergamot, there's coriander, there's cypress, fir, clary sage, grapefruit, cedar, olibanum. But once again, we've got this kind of synthetic amber woody experience here, where in the case of Kinetic, I liked it. Here, I don't quite like it because there's an amped up marine quality in this. Even though they don't mention it, it's here in the fragrance. So TUMI AWAKEN is at number 5 in this list. But are you a fan of AWAKEN? Do let me know. I'm not the biggest fan of AWAKEN. When the initial fragrances launched, AWAKEN and UNWIND, I preferred UNWIND over AWAKEN, but UNWIND is also at number 4, sadly. So at number 4 then, it is UNWIND. This is UNWIND here. I do like this a little more, and for some reason there's definitely a very green aromatic herbal quality about this against some of the other notes. It's not a wow fragrance for me. It's also a very easy to wear fragrance, even though it features oud. There's oud, ginger, sandalwood, vetiver, lemons, sage, lavender, geranium. It's definitely one of those fragrances, I don't want to say dumb reach, but it can be easy to wear, grab and go, you know, spray and go and kind of a thing like that. So you experience some aromatics, some herbs, there's some zing there. There's definitely that oud in here, but it's definitely a very, very wearable oud. Nothing kind of challenging and things like that. So it makes for a pleasant wear, I think. But again, for me, it's an afterthought. It's not really something that calls for me. So when they first dropped those 2 fragrances, AWAKEN and UNWIND, I felt like they were okay. They knocked it out of the park when they launched the 3rd fragrance, CONTINUUM. But at number 3, it's Kinetic. Yes, Kinetic gets the number 3 spot because it reminds me of too much of Sauvage. It wears like Sauvage on me. And of course the notes are a little different and it doesn't smell identical, but it reminds me of it. It was Sauvage with a little bit of something from Oud for Greatness or Calonne thrown in. Calonne is also a red bottle. This is as well. And again, the notes I've mentioned to you here, for me it's all about the Ambwerwood and the Italian Mandarin. That's what you experience a lot of. You do experience some of the spices, and it settles to more woods with an ambery kind of experience. So that's Kinetic at number 3. And at number 2, it's Atlas. Atlas is really fun fragrance, and again, we're not breaking any new ground with this one as well, but it smells great to me and it wears perfectly. It's ice cold. It's notes that are kind of ice cold and very herbal aromatic kind of notes with woods and earthiness. It features notes of vetiver, geranium, ginger, grapefruit, cardamom, sandalwood, labdanum, moss, and bergamot. It eventually becomes ambery in the dry down, lightly smoky. There's definitely lots of woods here, some green notes, and citruses. The citruses are very invigorating, and there's a kind of a metallic quality about this particular fragrance, and the ice cold idea or theme definitely comes to mind, especially because the way the bottle looks, it's kind of silver, it's metallic looking, so there's definitely kind of a metallic cold experience with Atlas as well. Atlas is at number 2, and of course you might have guessed already, Continuum is at number 1. Continuum is so good. It's my kind of fragrance. It's absolutely delicious. It's definitely ambery. It's very complex next to all the other fragrances, and it's a definitely really great designer release for men. Women can pull this one off. They can totally pull it off. For me, they don't mention booziness. There's definitely a booziness here, and as I was saying at the beginning, there's definitely a fizziness. Like when I wear this fragrance, it reminds me of Coca-Cola, like as it's flattening on in the cup and you can smell it kind of a thing, or in a can or a bottle. There's definitely kind of a, you know, experience like that here with Continuum. And this fragrance is fantastic in the fall and winter, wears great, and it's a solid designer release for men. I recommend this as a great offering from designers from men, like one of the best within the last 5 years. It smells great. Like I said, the first 2 fragrances they dropped were okay, nothing to write home about, but they knocked it out of the park with Continuum, and they're still cranking out new fragrances. I'm hoping by the next time they come out with another really solid offering. For me, Continuum is just amazing. I love it, and that's why it deserves the number 1 spot. But in general, it has notes of Orris, amber, oud, tobacco, musk, olibanum, suede, citrus, incense, and mandarin. Again, there's no mention of booze. There's definitely booziness here, and of course that Coca-Cola fizziness. So Continuum by TUMI is at number 1. And those are my thoughts on my top 5 list of TUMI fragrances. Are you a fan of these fragrances? With my review for Kinetic, are you curious to, you know, sample it and check it out and things like that? And the fact that it reminds me of Sauvage a little bit, does that kind of disappoint you? For me, again, it does. Maybe it won't to you, but for me, it kind of wears like something Sauvage-like because the overdose of the Amberwood's quality in this particular fragrance. Anyway, that's my thoughts on TUMI fragrances. I do have a link to So Avant-Garde in the info box. You can always use my 20% off discount code, which I have there, and buy any of these fragrances if you care to. And again, you saw the list, the top 5 list. My favorite is Continuum, and I think come fall, autumn, winter, it'll be perfect for that season. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in today. If you have any questions or comments, list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.